All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from all ages, welcome to the latest edition of Baptized Fire with Brother Martin, baby. That's right. I'm here back with a vengeance. I'm here to have some fun. I'm here to walk, talk, and chew gum all at the same time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to talk about some things that are on my mind, baby, on my mind. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart to every single person that has reached out to me, that has talked to me, that has brought the positivity into my life. I just want to say thank you. I greatly appreciate it. To every single person that's going to see this live, thank you. To every single person that's going to see this afterwards, thank you. I pray that through my words that I could really make an impact within your life, whether it's positive or negative when it comes to my experiences, because ultimately, like I said, which I've said this on many occasions, I feel like we're not here by accident. We're here by divine design. We are here to not only live our best possible lives, but to also help each other through our experiences and just with the abilities and with the blessings and with the gifts that we're given within this life. So I just want to say to those individuals that on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, thank you for like your positivity that you've instilled into my life, as I will always be unbelievably grateful for it, because I know that without a lot of you people out there, I wouldn't be where I am today. And the thing about it is like the God honest truth is, quite frankly, there's a lot of cases where I would not be alive right now if it wasn't for certain people within my life. So I'm extremely grateful because I understand that God purposely has these individuals intervene within my life at certain points for reasons that will go further within my life. So I'm always grateful for that. And I'm always acknowledging the fact that every single day that I wake up is not by accident. Every single day that I wake up, it's God telling me, okay, you have a purpose. Okay. Whether that is you serving to make sure like your family's taken care of, whether that's to put a smile on somebody's face, or whether that's to sit down with somebody and speak with them, or just listen to them and then show them that little extra bit of love that they didn't receive prior that could help them get through their day. It's everything that I'm grateful for, guys, because ultimately we really need to wake up and realize that we're not here to live for ourselves. Like, we're not here just to gather as many things as possible to make ourselves happy. We are here to ultimately watch out for one another, to love love each other, and to experience what this life has to offer. And unfortunately lately, with everything that's been going on, it hasn't looked too good. It hasn't looked too good to where we are more divided than ever, which is unfortunate. And you guys know my perspectives on things. I just want to say that one positive that's coming out of this last week was we had the opportunity to celebrate Easter. Easter is my favorite holiday of the year. Don't get me wrong, guys. I'm grateful for Christmas. I am grateful for the birth of Christ, but I'm even more grateful for the resurrection, because Jesus proved beyond a shadow of a doubt he was who he claimed to be. Therefore, we have a promise to live in heaven forever through the sacrifice Jesus Christ made. And that doesn't mean I'm going to say, well, all you non-believers, you're going to hell. Because honestly, that ain't for me to say. That is not for me to judge others and say, hey, the way that you're living your life is wrong. I'm not going to say that, because ultimately I'm the type of guy to where God's put it into my heart. You don't judge, you just love. You don't judge by how someone looks. You judge within your heart, to where you see somebody that might be struggling, and you hope through your experiences and through your wisdom that you can help them through it. And it's kind of like with me, you guys know my backstory. I used to struggle with pain medication extremely badly. And the city that I currently reside in, which is Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, this is one of the worst places in America when it comes to things like heroin and methamphetamine drugs, and especially like the homeless issue. And it's unfortunate because I see so many people out there like being complete jackasses, being judgmental, and just saying, oh man, like these people are bums, like they're basically subhuman. and they don't deserve love. They don't deserve respect, and they don't deserve attention. I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm fortunate because I have a very strong work ethic that's instilled in me, regardless of my circumstances. I will do whatever it takes to make sure that my family is taken care of, because I have that internal motivation no matter what. Not everybody has that. And the average person that ends up struggling with those things that could lead to things like homelessness or losing family or whatever, it doesn't start out as, you know what I plan on doing? I plan on being someone that struggles with drugs. It's not something that starts out that way. And I think that if Jesus Christ, he could die on the cross for us, and he can forgive individuals that were persecuting him, literally right next to him, and he could promise them a spot in heaven. I believe that we have the ability to love and to forgive and to really have sympathy on others that we otherwise wouldn't. I feel like every single time this time of year comes around, which I know I'm about like a week late, but whatever. It's a wonderful reminder for me. Like, okay, you're doing good, but you could be doing better. What steps within your life can you take to help not only be like a better dad, but be a better husband, and just be like a better overall witness to people that might not have that love that they desire, and they seek it through other means. Like I said, whether it's through drugs, whether it's through promiscuous activity, or whether it's through, unfortunately, people going off the deep end and harming others. So by doing simple things like approaching somebody that's obviously hurting, you could really change some lives, guys. And the thing is I know sometimes we're scared to walk across the aisle. Like, we're scared to make that extra step within our lives to potentially help somebody, because we have that fear of rejection. Okay. And, ultimately, I've learned within my life, we're going to be dealing with rejection a lot. And so it's a matter of getting used to it. Now, the thing is that I know for me personally that I've been rejected a ton of times, and it's led to some really crappy decisions on my part. But thankfully, I've had God being the foundation for me. That has helped pick me back up time and time again. And I feel like the mistakes I made whenever I was 18, I learned from, and I didn't make him again. Because I learned from like the age 18 like to 25, I made less and less of those mistakes because I learned. And like through that, you gain wisdom, and like through that knowledge that you're gained, you're supposed to share it with other people. Like, you're not supposed to keep it in, because those lessons that you learn, they're meant to be passed on to others that will help them not make those same mistakes. So theoretically, we're supposed to generationally be better than the last one, because we're learning and growing. But unfortunately, due to things like greed, hate, just so many negative things, we have a habit of, we take 10 steps forward, but like we fall back 15, because we're so wrapped up in nonsensical worldly bullshit that in the grand scheme of things doesn't matter. Because ultimately, whether you are a Christian, a Muslim, an atheist, a spaghetti monster worshiper, a Scientologist, whatever, it doesn't matter. We are ultimately all here together, and we have one thing that we could do. We could love each other, and we could respect each other, and we could have tolerance for whatever we believe in towards somebody else. Because like I said, one of like my best friends, one of the main people that helped me, and basically he damn near saved my life. He is a diehard conservative, and you guys know my views. I am a progressive, liberal Christian. And the thing about it is that I would take a bullet for the guy. I love him to death. I love his wife to death. I love his kids to death. I would do anything in the world for him, because I don't let certain views that we might have be the defining factor on how I view the human being. Because ultimately, that's not what we're called to do. We're not called to judge and say, hey, well, he sees things this way, or he looks like that, so I'm not going to bother to take the step that's necessary to potentially help them through a time that they might be going through. That's kind of like the other day, which story time, ladies and gentlemen. You guys know that I am a money service manager at my local Walmart. And one of my jobs is to basically, I'm at a register within like the money center, which it's basically like the bank of Walmart. And basically like my job is to help people like with sending money, receiving money. I do money orders. I help with the answering the questions like with Western Union, MoneyGram, Bria. I help like my fellow coworkers. I mean, which I'm counting a boatload of money every single day. On average, I'm on any given day, I'm normally dealing like with about $50,000 in cash. So the crazy thing about it is that there's this gentleman that I was helping the other day, and it really, really hurt my feelings because the guy was extremely judgmental. He was sending money, and the guy was getting extremely testy with me because I asked him one question. I like the guy was sending money to Jamaica. And I said to him, I said, sir, what city are you sending to? Because now one of the requirements within our job is whenever you're sending out of country, we require the specification of the city that it's going to. This guy got extremely testy with me and was being extremely rude to me, saying that, which I've been here 7,000 times before, and I've never been asked that. And if I was lighter or basically white, you wouldn't be doing this to me. And I said, sir, your skin color has nothing to do with this transaction whatsoever. And he snapped back at me saying, well, I guess I got to sit up against this wall like the boy you see me as, and you're being extremely rude. I said, sir, I'm not trying to be rude whatsoever. I just want to get this fixed and rectified so you can have your transaction squared away. And the guy said, I can't stand people like you and everything else. So I said, sir, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry that you don't like me because of the way I look. I said, God has put it on my heart. You don't judge by color, you judge by character. And you love no matter what. And the thing is that he's like, well, the God I believe in says that it's okay to be racist. I said, sir, I'm sorry that you feel that way because you're closing off so many potential opportunities to build relationships that could enhance your life. Heck, even potentially save your life. So I told the guy, I said, let me finish this up for you. I'm sorry that you're having a bad day. I'm sorry that you see things the way that you do. And I pray that one day that you have those blinders removed from your eyes and that you're able to see the truth and you're able to see people for who they are and not how they look. And unfortunately, living in the South, there's a lot of individuals that grew up, like a lot of African-American people that have grown up down here being judged because of the way they look. And in reaction and in return, they mimic the behaviors that are put right in front of them to where it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to be judged, then I'm going to fight back fire with fire, an eye for an eye. And unfortunately, that doesn't help anybody. So I tell people, like, especially things like racism, you're not born racist. You are born pure of heart, and you're born to love everybody, no matter what they look like or no matter what their background is. And unfortunately, you have people that have had so many bad experiences that it's like, okay, just because a small group of white people, they have treated me this way, that then I have to assume that all of them are like that. So there's a lot of people that are racist on that end, especially down south here. And then there's a lot of people that are racist on my end, unfortunately. And the thing is that like with the South, we're pretty much like we're about 50 years behind like the rest of the country, which is unfortunate whenever it comes to our politics, our beliefs, and our overall views. And just like with the whole thing, like with people being hurt so many times and then going into like their little shell, they have a that goes with people that are hurt and they don't want to believe in God. Basically, they've had so many bad experiences by people that claim to be Christians or people of faith that they step back and they start to blame God and saying, well, God, if you're real, then this is complete nonsense. Your people are the biggest hypocrites in the world and this and that. And that's true. In many, many ways, Christians are the biggest hypocrites in the world. They are some of the most hateful, bigoted individuals you'll ever come across. I ain't gonna lie to you guys. But God never meant it to be that way. So it drives me nuts whenever people want to pass judgment on God for what humans do. God gives us something called free will, ladies and gentlemen. We make the decisions we make. We say the words we say, and we make the choices that we make that, unfortunately, for better or for worse, will affect people. And unfortunately, there's people that like to weaponize faith and weaponize God to their own personal fulfillment on things. And then there's also people that completely, they're starving for God, but because of the way other people act, they just don't want to reach that hand out to say, hey, help me. I need help. So they're in a cycle that they could break otherwise, but because of past experiences, it's hard for them. And believe me, guys, I know this. I've experienced this myself. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart that I love every single person out there. I do. I might not like the way they act. Okay. I know some people that are going to be like, Chris, I read your Twitter posts and I see how you post about certain former presidents. Okay. I understand that you guys feel that way. I do. I personally don't hate the former fearless leader. Okay. I don't. My thing about it, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about this because this show is not about this, but bottom line, unless I don't care who you are, whether you're on the left side, the right side, you are in the middle. If you commit a crime, you should be held accountable. And there's a massive outrage because the gentleman that I'm speaking of, our former fearless leader, he is being finally held accountable for his actions. And there's so many people that are outraged about it. And they keep saying, well, what about this person? And what about that person? Well, my thing about it is that if they committed a crime, they should be held accountable, period. People want to talk about things like with Hunter Biden with the laptop. Bottom line, guys, if something would have been incriminating when it comes to that, it would have been revealed already. Believe me, there's nothing there. When it comes to things, one of the things that like a lot of people tell me, they're like, well, what about Bill Clinton, like with the blowjob? Don't get me wrong. I don't agree with what he did. He cheated on his wife. And it's fucked up. It's wrong. And I don't support that. But he also didn't use campaign funds to pay the woman off. Unfortunately, the former president did. I mean, and both of them were in the wrong for what they did because they broke their wedding vows. So the fact is that they were both in the wrong. I'm not going to stick up and defend people that are in the wrong. We should be holding each other accountable regardless. We shouldn't be having this tribalistic mentality to where it is no matter what happens, I'm going to shit on this person, but I'm going to support this person no matter how bad they behave. I'm sorry, guys. We cannot learn. We cannot grow. We cannot go forward and build a better future if we don't hold each other accountable. That's all I'm saying, guys. So just to clear that up, because I know there's going to be some people messaging me later on. Well, hey, Chris, I checked out your Twitter. And and which I have no issues with answering any questions whenever it concerns that. And like I said, I'm human. I'm not perfect, but I'm not making excuses either, because ultimately I do have my views, I do have my perspectives, but I do not hate anybody. I just wish everybody would do better, because we have the ability to. Because the fact is, whenever we live in a country that values guns over human lives. We live in a country that values guns over females. We live in a country that values guns over children. And that's what really upsets me, is the hypocrisy of these individuals that claim, hey, we love the kids, we love the kids, we love the kids. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to arm the teachers. We're going to arm the security guards, this, that, the other. They've done that in certain schools. It hasn't worked out too well. The fact is that if we were to take the proper steps and we were to look at the examples that have been set before us, you have countries like, I believe it's Australia, which is like my favorite example. Since they enforced gun control, they have not had a mass shooting since 1996. Okay. Believe me, guys, it does work. It works. And in my personal view, if you want your shotgun, fine. You want your pistol, fine. But I don't feel like any normal citizen should have access to automatic weapons, period. That is a weapon of destruction meant to destroy. And the only people that should be having it, in my opinion, is military. That is it. But it is what it is. I feel like we need to be held more accountable for our words and for our actions. I feel like, honestly, if someone's going to tell me thoughts and prayers again and do nothing with it, then I'm going to scream my fucking head off. Because this is the thing, guys. Clearly, whenever somebody says thoughts and prayers, especially from like the political side, they don't give a shit. They don't care. It's like, okay, there's people that got killed. I don't care. The National Rifle Association, like, they're paying me more, so I don't give a shit. It is what it is. More guns, more guns, more guns. Guys, it's not going to end anytime soon, which is unfortunate. So I pray that with this generation that's rising, that they can help change the world for the better. And before I go into my main thing, I just want to say this too. And this might be a little bit touchy, and I know some people might not watch my show again because of this, but there's a whole thing with Bud Light going on. Apparently there was a trans TikToker named Dylan Mulvaney, who's a spokesperson for Bud Light now. Apparently Bud Light's lost a bunch of money because of it. And this is the thing. Whatever you have people like Kid Rock buying a case of Bud Light, mind you, just to shoot at it and to make a video to make a point that he hates trans people, that's a massive reflection on the type of person he is. And that speaks to his character, which it's unfortunate, because I am pro-gay. I believe people are born gay. I believe that, like, with my whole heart. I support gay marriage. And I support people's rights to feel the way they feel. And if they feel like they're a man stuck in a woman's body or vice versa, that's on them. I personally don't agree with it. I think that if you're feeling that way, that it's more than likely an issue of mental health. And I feel like this bullshit with more than two genders, it's ridiculous, because science is science, facts are facts. You were either born a man or you're born a woman. Now, if what you do with your life, that's cool. Go for it. I will, because it doesn't affect me personally, and it's not going to stop. And it won't affect me paying my bills. It won't stop me from being a dad. It won't stop me from being a husband. It won't stop me from being a man of God. The fact is that who gives a shit? Seriously, people, you have people that with selective outrage, to where you have all this bullshit that they're distracted by, that they really need to focus on, that's extremely important. Like, once again, we have children that are dying weekly from mass shootings, but yet we we choose to be outraged by drag show readings, and we choose to be outraged by trans people and all that shit, once again, I believe there's only two genders. I believe that it's more of a mental health issue whenever it comes to you thinking that you're the opposite sex. But I'm not going to stop a person from living the life the way they want. I'm not going to intervene and say, hey, oh, you're a piece of shit. You're subhuman. You're this, you're that. No, which I'm going to love the person, because ultimately that's what we're called to do, ladies and gentlemen. Like, we're called to love each other no matter what. And I just don't understand, man. Even within my lifetime, like, which I'm 35 years old, I've seen people from all walks of life get along. I've seen people from all walks of life love each other and listen to each other and get to the point to where they can have a respectful conversation despite their apparent disagreements. I just don't understand why we can't do that no more, man. It really breaks my heart. Damn, it breaks my heart. I really feel like we need to have a reset, man. I don't know how we can do that. I mean, like, a bunch of people living in this country, but the thing is that we need to get our heads out of our asses. We need to stop being so selfish. We need to stop being so angry over shit that quite frankly doesn't matter. And we need to focus on the important issues and start from there. We need to focus on that. And I have people that have said to me, Chris, you talk about a lot of things, like you preach certain things, but do you actually take action whenever it comes to wanting to help, like with changing stuff? As a matter of fact, I do, which I go to, which I actually go to a local peaceful protest. I vote. I let my voice be heard. I actually write emails to like my local government officials when it concerns certain issues that really, really affect me. Here in Myrtle Beach, a lot of it is the fact that a lot of the issues is, which I'll be blunt, guys, once again, back to what I was talking about, like the whole thing, like with the homeless issue. We have a huge amount of homeless people, especially veterans, that are not well taken care of. And I feel like, honestly, with the money this city makes, because believe me, we are, I believe it's the second most visited tourist city on the East Coast. We make millions upon millions of dollars every single year. And yet we have one of the largest homeless populations in the country. And we're not even in the top 50 for city size. So my thing about it is that if the locals aren't seeing the money, if the homeless people aren't seeing the money, where's it going? And that goes back to me and the whole thing with trusting officials that claim that they want to improve our city and everything else, because in actuality, I haven't personally seen a difference within the past decade. Unfortunately, it's gotten worse. But yet the city's making record money right now, which, as a matter of fact, my store, Walmart, which is one of the busiest stores in the country, which I send a friend of mine screenshots of our sales. We're averaging right around $430,000 to $500,000 a day in sales, and that's a little bit of a reflection of what kind of money is coming into this city, guys, to where it's like, okay, Jesus Christ, like if making $3.5 million a week, which if Walmart's making that, just imagine the hotels. Just imagine all the local businesses. I'm just saying, guys, where the hell is the tax money going? And I just don't get it, man. I don't understand it. But ultimately, we all have the ability to do our part and let our voices be heard. So hopefully, by me stepping up and saying something that can inspire someone else to say something, and so on and so forth. So similar to like a trickle effect, I hope that could cause, because Myrtle Beach, I'm not the biggest fan of this place, but I do live here. I ultimately want the best opportunities possible for the people that live here, for the businesses, everything else, because ultimately there is money that's coming in. It's just not being distributed correctly to help the people that are locals. Because it's like I tell people, like the city of Myrtle Beach, we cater to three groups of people. We cater to the tourist, we cater to the rich, and we cater to the retirees. The other ones, like myself, we fall down the middle of the cracks. And ultimately, we have to scratch, claw, and fight for every little thing we get, which I don't mind scratching, I don't mind clawing, I don't mind fighting, because ultimately I bust my ass, I earn everything I get. But I shouldn't have to work twice as hard just so someone else that's not gets the benefits for it. I just don't get it, guys, but it is what it is. But anyways, I've had an awesome month recently. Like my daughter, she has turned 10 years old. I cannot believe it, man. I tell people every single year, my daughter's birthday is the anniversary of the greatest day of my life. And like a lot of people say to me, like, whoa, wait a second, Chris, you got a son. Like, why is he not the greatest or at least tied? Well, for like people that don't know, my son was 3 years old when I met my wife. No, I didn't knock her up and leave her for 3 years. Okay. Some people have actually had they've actually had the audacity to say that to me as well, because I don't like to call him a stepson. I don't. I actually was, I came into like my wife's life whenever my son was 3. And it was one of the biggest blessings ever. The first 3 years. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah. So like my son was 3 when I met him. I don't like to call him a stepkid, but my son was 3, and which I treated him more like a little brother, and I wasn't really like the greatest dad, because honestly, I wasn't used to having kids around me for that long a time. I mean, yes, I am a youth pastor. Yes, I do youth ministry, but there's a difference, because I meet up with kids like a few hours a week and I go home. This was completely the opposite, to where I had to live with them. And so like just having to get used to like that dynamic, it wasn't the easiest thing to deal with. And then eventually like my daughter was born. And like the daddy switch just completely switched on. It was absolutely amazing. It not only made me a better dad for her, but like a better dad for my son and a better husband. It made me realize very quickly what truly is important in life. And like just sitting there, just holding her like the day that she was born, March 11th, 2013. It was absolutely breathtaking. It was just absolutely amazing. And just looking down at her and just realizing this is such an amazing gift from God, and feeling the presence of God at that moment. And that's why whenever people say to me they don't believe in God, I understand, partially because I'm a former atheist, but whenever you have kids and you look down on them and you realize literally millions upon millions of tiny little processes had to perfectly work together for that child to get here within 9 months, it really gets you thinking like, wow, there's an ultimate creator out there. So that right there strengthened my faith within God. And just knowing that she's 10 years old now, it's just absolutely amazing. She's grown into such a wonderful young lady. She's such a great little artist, straight A student, such a sweet kid. I couldn't have asked for a better daughter. I couldn't have asked for like a better son. My son's straight A student. He's in the local the ROTC program at his high school. Like he's planning on joining the service. My daughter, she's a great artist. She's wanting to start playing like the guitar. She's wanting to she does a dance. I mean, just like honestly, it's just she's such a creative little girl, and she's got like that little mindset to where, what can I create just to express myself? And her goal through every little thing that she does, and I love her so much for this, is to make people smile. She is such a selfless, such a fearless little girl that's just going to take on the world and set it on fire. She's just going to do so many great things that's going to help out and inspire so many people and make them realize that life is not as bad as you think. It's all about those individuals that will be willing to go across and to just show that love. Whether, I mean, as something as simple as like my daughter, her drawing something and her handing it to me, Granny, or just someone in her class. There's been so many times where I've had like her teacher call me and say, that little drawing she made, it completely made that student's day. And they were having a bad day up until then. I mean, just things like that, guys. Little things that you can do to help with inspiring others to realize you're not here by mistake. You're amazing. You have full potential to do great things within this life. Hey, and if you need help, it's okay. Ask for it. But think to yourself, you could be that little spark that could ignite that fire within that person to do great things. So I'm just saying, guys, Angel, she blows me away. She is a reminder for me to never give up. And she gives me hope for the future. My son gives me hope for the future. And anytime I want to give up and throw in the towel, I think about my son. I think about my daughter. I think about my wife, that, you know what? I am here to make an impact on others. I'm here to work hard. I'm here to never give up. And by not giving up, I'm setting the example for them to follow, to say, hey, you know, things aren't perfect by no means, but things will get better. You got to work towards that, but things will get better, guys. And you talk about people walking across the aisle. I feel like I need to share this because Easter, and you guys know that I love Jesus. You guys know that I'm a Christian and that I have not shut up about him since I was 16 years old. But many of you, because I have newer listeners, I ain't saying that I have a ton of listeners, because honestly, even if I have 5 extra listeners, I'm grateful. For like the newer listeners out there, I've had roughly 3 people that say to me, hey, Chris, what's your testimony? What's going on with that? How did you become a Christian? And I figured, hell, since it's a little bit past Easter, and we were focusing on God, I want to let everybody know how I came to God. So whenever I was 16 years old, I was one of those kids. I had a really, really bad stutter, a weight issue. I had such a hard time with adjusting and with fitting in. It was my junior year of high school. I cared way too much about what other people thought, and I tried to wear like the latest style like clothes. Like, and I think back then it was shit. Don't quote me on this. I'm really bad with names, guys. Ed Hardy, I believe, like the brand name was. So like freaking Ed Hardy, South Pole, fucking Eddie Bauer. I would wear all that shit. And which I was trying to be someone that I thought people would like. And the more I tried, the more I got rejected. Because people could see right through that. A lot of the time they can. And I was trying so hard. And if I just would have been myself, then I would have been fine. And unfortunately, it took me a good minute to discover that. And it got to the point to where one day I just couldn't take it no more. I was so depressed. I got made fun of a lot, everything. Which I got it in my fucked up head. That, you know what? I don't need to be here anymore. I don't care to live anymore, because ultimately, why bother? I feel like I'm a failure in so many ways, and I don't deserve to live. So like my mom and dad, they had their own medical issues, so they had pain medication. This is how I first got hooked on pain pills, by the way. Which, mind you, I struggled with addiction before this happened, and that led to like the downward spiral as well. I stole a bunch of my parents' pain pills, which I'm not proud of at all to admit that, but it's true. And I stole them the night before I was going to go to school the next day. And I said, okay, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to come home and I'm going to do it. And little did I realize that God was already having a plan that was set into motion for me. Whenever I went to school that day, it was breakfast. I was so zonked out of it that I was like my face was almost in like the lunch tray, the food tray. So like my at the time my best friend Kevin, he had to literally lift up my arms and he had to literally lift me up just so I can get to class. And it was just a really crummy day up to that point. And so I went to like my first two periods, and then we have a thing. It's called homeroom. So basically, homeroom, it's downtime to where you can catch up on like your schoolwork. You can hang out with your friends. You can gossip or whatever. It's basically a study hall, but up north we call it homeroom. And I just happened to go to homeroom, and I snuck out of mine to go see Kevin. And which I was talking to Kevin, and Kevin was talking to one of the guys that's my best friend now, my brother, Tim. They were talking about a youth group, and I just happened to butt in on the conversation. And I heard what they were talking about, and Tim, out of feeling guilty and out of feeling, basically the whole thing was he didn't want to be rude. So he said, "Do you want to go?" He really didn't care to invite me because he didn't like me. But the fact is that he invited me because he later on said to me that he felt like God was telling him to. And I first said no. I said, "No, man, I'm good. I'm not into that Jesus freak stuff," because I was an atheist at the time. And he said to me, "Chris, we're going to have free food tonight. So if you want to go, let me know and let your parents know that you're going to eat there." And that right there, I'm like, well, I don't got to go for Jesus, but I can go for the free food. So, which I remember, it was barbecue chicken wings. And later on that night, which I was putting it off, I was like, okay, well, like once I get off school, he'll pick me up, we'll go to youth group, and then I'll do the deed. And I'll kill myself on a full stomach. And little did I realize, God put Tim in that position to intervene on something to help plant seeds for me later on. So he picked me up that night and was blaring Christian rock music. I remember what the song was. It was All For You by the rock band Jonah 33. It sounded like nails on a chalkboard to me. I was just like, oh my God, this is absolutely terrible. And he was trying his best to be nice to me. It was so awkward because like we literally had barely anything in common. I mean, he was a Titans fan. I was a Ravens fan. He was a Braves fan. I was an Orioles fan. He was a Christian. I was an atheist. Like we were the complete polar opposites of each other. But like the main thing that we had in common was Kevin. So it was crazy because as soon as we pull up to the church, I see all these people hugging, shaking hands, just being so unbelievably nice. And I had just random people walking up to me and just hugging me and saying that they're happy to have me here. And I genuinely felt like that love right away. I felt like a really positive connection, and I was like, oh, no, I'm just going to shake this off. But ultimately, little did I realize, but it was a preview of things to come. So I went into the building. We sat down, and Pastor John Moores, which was a youth pastor at St. Philip's Episcopalian Church up in Moon Township, which is near Pittsburgh. He started speaking about unconditional love. And this was right around Easter time, I believe. It was in April of 2006. And he was playing a clip about it was a Ricky Bobby from the movie Talladega Nights, and with him praying. And John was speaking about, through the clip, the importance of being genuine and knowing who you're speaking to, and what it means to have that unconditional relationship with God, and to not only just pray to him for what you want, but to pray to him for that relationship that we need with him. And it was a big eye-opener for me. Mind you, I still didn't believe. But once again, God was planting the seeds for me. Before we left, we, of course, had the chicken wings that I was promised. Great food, by the way. And I went home, and I didn't kill myself. It was amazing because I had this all planned out. And all because someone who didn't like me, mind you, decided to intervene because God was calling them to. And that helped with planting the seeds. For like the next few weeks, I started to go to like the youth group, and like the messages, like they really started to really grow on me. And I felt this calling within my heart getting stronger and stronger. I was hearing this voice getting louder and louder, and little did I realize at the time, but it was God. And about a month and a half after I started to go, we went to a place called Fun for All, it's basically like go-karts. It's like, it's mini golf with like the arcade, all that stuff. Really, really cool. Fun place. And the group that we went with, the youth group of kids, were nothing but loving to me, nothing but caring. They cared. They gave a shit to listen to me, and they didn't judge me, and they loved me. And I felt the love of God right there through them. And that's how people are supposed to act as Christians. They're not supposed to have conditions built around their beliefs to where, well, yes, I'll love you, but you have to see it from my perspective, and you have to support what I support, or else. That's what I loved about being a kid, because that shit, we weren't poisoned with that garbage back then. And I had my friends, hell, my youth pastor would even call up at my house every single few days just to check on me. How's Chris doing? And it meant the world to me. I mean, because, which I know, like my mom and dad, like they loved me, but ultimately it felt so good knowing that somebody else outside of my house gave a shit, because I thought I sabotaged myself so greatly to where no one would care if I was here or not. And we were at the Fun for All place, and I was riding on go-karts, and this is one of my favorite things to do, by the way. I love go-karts. Awesome thing for me to do. It's one of my It's one of my ways for me to get into like my happy place spiritually, as weird as that sounds. And literally I was driving in the go-karts with like my fellow youth group kids, and God asked me a question flat out. He put it on my heart. It was very, very loud. He said, "Christopher, what are you waiting for? You know I'm real. You know I love you. You see these people I've put around you to show you my love. What's stopping you?" And with tears streaming down my face, I said, "Nothing, God. Nothing at all. I'm yours." And I gave my life to Christ that very night. And the best decision I've ever made in my life, because I'm going to tell you this right now, guys, that laid down the foundation for every single thing to come in my life. When it came to my wife, my kids, my job, my friends, my work ethic, everything, I can always point back to him. And I can always point back to the individuals that God put in my life to help me lead to him. And I will always be grateful for Tim. I will always be grateful for Kevin. I will always be grateful for, mind you, like there's two Kevins. And which I'm going to go into more detail on like my next show about the other Kevin, but the one that was my really good friend was Kevin Tashuti. I still love him to death to this day. We might not see eye to eye on certain things, and we might have drifted apart over the years, but I will always have nothing but love for him, and I wish nothing but the best for him. Me and Tim, we live 10 hours apart. I live in Myrtle Beach. He lives in Pittsburgh, but we always stay in touch. And the crazy part about it is that it's almost like every single time we talk, we could go months without talking, and literally it's like it was yesterday. We just have that special connection. And I'll always be grateful because I have a lifelong friend with him. I have a lifelong friend with Kevin. And speaking of planting seeds, I don't think I've gone into full detail about this, but there was also another person that was a huge influence on me, and I didn't even realize it at the time. This was like a year before I even got the opportunity to go to youth group. And me and my dad, we went to, it was a wrestling pay-per-view called No Way Out, which was at the old Mellon Arena in Pittsburgh, PA. February of 2005. It was the month before WrestleMania 21. It was a meet and greet lined up with John Cena that like my dad paid for. That fell through. And I ain't gonna lie to you guys, I was a bit of a crybaby back then. Whenever it came to meeting wrestlers I really, really liked. So John, he canceled. He had something else going on, which I understand. Shit happens. But I saw that, but I started crying, and then there was a gentleman by the name of Eddie Guerrero that approached me. And literally, he said, "Well, I'm not John Cena, buddy, but if you'd like to sit down and talk, I would really like to get to know you. And we could take pictures together. I'll sign your shirt. I'll do anything, man. I just don't want to see you cry." And that right there, I'm like, okay, cool. Which I wasn't the biggest fan of Eddie at the time. I mean, yes, I liked him, but he wasn't up there. But Eddie just sat down like we sat down for like a good while, just talking. And he had his Bible with him and was just speaking about lessons about like love and patience and respect and understanding that things won't always work out the way you planned. And I mean, Eddie was absolutely amazing. And once again, I was an atheist at the time, so I took this stuff like with a grain of salt. I was thinking, all right, cool, whatever. But the fact he took time out that he could have been spending doing God knows whatever else, he took it to spend with me. And he showed me love. He showed me respect, and he was a great example of what a man of God was, because I felt an aura about him. I felt something about him to where it's like, man, you're different. I felt like an extremely overwhelming positive energy about him, to where, you know how sometimes guys, like, you walk in, you have certain people like that walk into a room and they can either light it up or they can drain the energy out. Eddie was one of those individuals to where, like, as soon as he walked into a room, just everybody was in a happier mood. Everybody was just like a lot more laid back. They were a lot just like straight up, Eddie had that. And I will always be grateful for that. For those individuals that are like, well, Chris, what's the deal with you loving Eddie so much? That's why. Because he took time out of his schedule that he didn't have to sit down with me and like to help make me feel better because of the canceling. And I will always be grateful for that. I always will, because like I said, little did I realize that helped with planting a small seed that led to water being poured on it a year later, that helped sprout my roots that were being built within God. So I'm just saying, guys, I love Eddie. Wrestling has always been my go-to when it comes to dealing with depression and just escaping reality, because honestly, wrestling, I love it. And Eddie will always be one of my heroes. And the day that he passed, there's only 2 times in wrestling that I've cried when it comes to wrestling. The second one is kind of embarrassing, but I'll admit it. The first one was whenever I found out that Eddie died. I was crying uncontrollably. It really broke my heart, because that meeting with him meant so much to me. And Eddie was only 38 years old, guys. He was young. He had so much more to give. He had so much more life to live, but unfortunately, the decisions that he made in his past led to later on complications of heart disease that led to him passing. But I'm fortunate that I was able to meet him months before he passed, so he can help plant those seeds in me. Guys, honestly, you never know who you're going to come across that can help better your life. I promise you. It is amazing what God will do with your life. It's amazing the individuals you'll come across, and you think at first, whatever, like, I'm really not interested, and then suddenly it's something that you'll look back on and you'll realize that had a greater impact on you than you've ever could imagine. So hold on, let me speaking of Eddie, right here, I got my Eddie Funko Pop. And I absolutely love the man. I do. And that's why I'm encouraging every single person tonight. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't let potential opportunities, when it comes to people coming across your path, go to waste. That could help your life even more. Because I know for me, I've had individuals that didn't like me and they chose to walk where they weren't comfortable and they chose to help me. And I've had individuals that I shrugged off thinking, whatever. And it's made a greater impact on me than I could ever describe. If it wasn't for me becoming a Christian, if it wasn't for me giving my life to Christ, I don't know where I'd be at. I'm not saying that, hey, that in order to live a happy, fulfilling life, you got to become a Christian, because ultimately I'm not going to force that down your throat and say, hey, you're below me or you're above me or whatever, because ultimately I'm not going to do that. The fact is that wherever your journey takes you, I pray that you ultimately find that peace, that love, that satisfaction, and that ultimate contentment within your heart, to where you can say, hey, things are good, man. I'm at a good place. And with that, you can spread it to other people and they could potentially find that good place within their heart. Because, heck, like I said before, one of my best friends, he's a Republican. My brothers, I'm going to call them my brothers. My brother, Tim, he is a diehard conservative. My other brother, Justin, he's a Buddhist monk, ladies and gentlemen. And I love him to death. I would take a bullet for him. And I have another brother by the name of John. You guys know. He's my partner on the Retro Wrestling Revival. Me and him, we think alike on a lot of stuff, but we also differ in certain subjects as well. We're both Christians, we're both progressives, and we're both men that love our families to the core and will do whatever it takes, and we will sacrifice no matter what the cost to make sure they're taken care of. And I respect that about him, and he respects that about me, and I'm very grateful. I just want to say, guys, we all have a story to tell. You know, don't treat it like a diary to where you lock it up. No, man, be willing to share it, man. Be willing to share it, because by you sharing, who knows, you might change a life or two. Because I know I've had a few people message me over the years saying, Chris, thank you so much for saying this, and thank you so much for sharing, because I thought I was the only one. And you know what? You're not the only one. We're all more alike than you realize. I don't think it just frustrates me. We have these little petty squabbles and differences that lead us astray from really seeing what's important. And I'm guilty of that myself. I want you guys to get out of this, what I'm saying tonight, that don't shut out opportunities to change somebody's life because you don't see eye to eye with them. If you see somebody in pain and you got something to offer that you can help them through experience, through love, or just listening, do it. Because I know that it's changed my life for the better. I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for that. I've had my struggles being a grown adult. I've had issues with mental health. I've had all that stuff. And I'm an open book about it. But ultimately, where it began, whenever I was 16 years old, it's helped me greatly. That foundation got laid, man. And I got some people that are thinking, well, man, I guess your parents were chopped liver. No. I had phenomenal parents. They loved me to death. They were non-believers. They were atheists, but they said to me also as well, you find what makes you happy. You find your peace, and just make sure that it doesn't harm others. That's all they said. Ultimately, my mom and dad, they eventually became believers before they passed away, and I was grateful for that. My mother was justified in certain ways with how she saw things, because ultimately there was a lot of abuse growing up for her. I'm not going to go into full detail about that right now, but just which I could see why she didn't believe. And my dad, the same exact way. He had a lot of shit that happened growing up with people dying, people being killed, all that, to where he was like, okay, well, God clearly ain't real. But ultimately, they did not let that stop them from being phenomenal parents. They didn't let that stop that from them loving me, because I can't speak one negative thing when it comes to my parents about them not loving me. Because there was no point in my life, even with us bitching and arguing and bickering over non-consequential shit, quite frankly, that didn't matter, that we wasted a lot of time bitching about. No time, even through that, did I ever question whether my parents loved me or not, because I know they did. And as I get older and as I see like my kids grow up, it breaks my heart knowing that I'll never see them again in this world. But it does bring me joy knowing that the example that I set for them when it came to being a Christian, that led them to making a great decision that's going to make it to where I do see them again one day. And I couldn't be more happier about that. But ultimately, it goes back to people walking across the aisle and being willing to step out of their comfort zone to offer something that you don't have and to plant those seeds. Be willing to step across, guys, and be willing to plant seeds for others, no matter what you believe in. Love, man. Love is the great equalizer right there. And before I go, I'm just going to say this too. Whenever it comes to me podcasting, I was inspired. You speak about people that like are planting seeds. I know this isn't a popular thing for me to say, because I know there's some people that have extreme disdain for this man, but they also, and then there's the polar opposite where like there's people that love this man. I'm kind of in the middle, but Vince Russo, he's one of the people that inspired me to start podcasting. The same goes for John Paz. The same goes for Chad. And I know that Chad don't like me. I understand. I got you. But those three, hell, Mike Durbin as well. They all inspired me to podcast. And I'm greatly appreciative for that, because this is like therapy for me. And I will always be grateful for it, because not only am I able to help people through my life experiences, but ultimately I want to leave a record behind for my kids. If something happens to me, they can always hear Dad. And it's all about those people just planting them seeds, and just those people, whether you intentionally do the seed planting or you unintentionally do. I pray that it leads to great things within your life. Be willing to be open and be willing to take in people that are wanting to help you in various ways. So guys, I just had to get that off my chest. I know there's some people that are like, Chris, why don't you do stuff on a more consistent basis? Once again, I'm going to say this because I know some people might not have watched my last show. I'm not going to force out content half-heartedly. I'm not going to do it to where I don't feel like 100% on what I'm going to talk about, because ultimately I want to do something that's going to make an impact. I want to do something that's going to inspire you guys and ultimately make you think. Whether it's making a better choice or making like a worse choice based off my experiences, I want you guys to think like, oh man, he set a good example. Cool. Then I'm going to do that. Or, oh shit, he made a really crappy decision. Let me do the opposite. I want my stories to not fall on deaf ears, but for you guys to realize, hey, he's pouring his heart out, and I really want it to hit people hard. I really do, guys. So I'm not going to do it weekly like this. Hell, I might feel inspired to do it weekly. I don't know. But the fact is that this is a passion project for me. This is therapy for me. This is like me decompressing to where I want to do this because I have something to say and not just to spew random gibberish. So, guys, I love you. I appreciate every single person that's going to watch this. Please like, share, and subscribe. Baptize Fire with Brother Martin. We got Facebook, Baptize Fire with Brother Martin on YouTube. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it is at Baptize Fire 125. I really want to connect with you guys. Let me know what you think. Good, bad, or indifferent. I want to know what you think, guys, because I want this to be something that could help you open up and realize, hey, I got a story to share too. We all have stories to share. On like my next show, I'm going to go further into detail about my initial journey into faith and how some people saw a drastic change in me right away for the better. And then there was some people that completely just got extremely turned off by me because they're like, wait a minute, this isn't the same exact person that I had a relationship with. Needless to say, I lost a girlfriend over it. I lost a few friends over it, but I gained a few friends as well. And the friends I did gain, they've been here for years. Since that time, I still speak with them, and they still love me, and vice versa. I still love them too. And also, I'm going to go into the story about how my dad thought I was brainwashed right after I first became a Christian. So guys, I got plenty of stories to share. I do. I just feel like I need to go back to basics with us just having Easter, with being reminded of the sacrifice of Christ, and just with all the turmoil that's going on in the world, the division, everything else. I feel like I really need to share what God's done for me. And hopefully that can inspire others to follow God, but also just be kinder to each other, guys. This is nonsense, man. This is nonsense, like the division, the negativity, the bullshit. I really don't understand it. And I'm just going to let you guys know too. What you see with your eyes goes to your heart, and that will affect your mental state as well. If you strictly just tune into one source for all of your information, then you could potentially be stuck in a thing called an echo chamber, and to where you're so subscribed to that you're not willing to be open-minded and to listen to other perspectives that might actually help you better your understanding of why you feel the way you feel. My encouragement is don't take everything at face value. Do your research and look at many, many sources. Don't just strictly go to, I'm CNN, I'm Fox News, I'm MSNBC, I'm the Young Turks, I'm this, I'm that. No, guys, be open to differing views and perspectives. Because I know, like with my faith, which I'm a former atheist, turned Episcopalian Christian, turned Methodist Christian, and now I'm a non-denominational Christian. My faith has evolved better over the years with me being willing to be open to differing ideas that can help me strengthen my faith. And the same goes with my politics. I used to be a die-hard liberal. I used to be like a die-hard liberal. Nothing you could tell me would change that. But ultimately, I chose to open up my mind, and now I'm more of a centrist, a centrist progressive that sees bullshit on both sides. So, I mean, which if I'm willing to open up and grow, I think you should be opening up to grow too. And really, really one quick thing, okay? And which I'm going to say this right now, and I've noticed this since I was a teenager, but it's gotten worse within like the past decade. I'm going to tell you this right now. And one of the biggest issues whenever it comes to people not being able to trust and grow and to respect each other, regardless of our differences, is the fact that you have people hijacking Christianity and molding it with politics. I'm going to say this right now, guys. United States is not a Christian nation. We were not founded as a Christian nation. We were founded as a nation for the freedom of choosing what you want to believe in. There's a reason why we have a separation of church and state. It's because when it mixes together, it turns into the bullshit and the minutia that we're having now that's leading to destructive behaviors and actions and families being torn apart and just people shooting up places. I mean, it's leading to all that shit when in actuality, it's supposed to, by separating it, we could see each for what they are, and we could ultimately make better decisions without being blinded by people hijacking the shit, by prostituting the name of God to get their own personal agenda across. It's bullshit, guys. So my encouragement, no matter where you're at, no matter what you believe in, no matter who you believe in, love people that might not otherwise feel like they're loved. If you have that brother or sister or dad or whatever, and you don't see eye to eye with them, you think to yourself, well, like, we might not see freaking eye to eye on stuff, but there's some things that we can see eye to eye on. Don't focus on the things that are going to divide you. Focus on the things that you could use to bring you both closer together. I don't focus on those issues that are going to divide me and my brothers. I don't focus on that at all, because ultimately I know that's certain things are dead-end issues. And it's just going to create hostility. But if there's those opportunities to where you can look past that and you can focus on those things that you can build on, do it. I encourage every single person to do it. Because you know what? Every single person that's watching this, you are beautiful, you are wonderful. And you know what? There are people out there that love you. You are valuable. You are amazing. And you have so much to offer. The fact that you wake up every single day, that tells you that you have untapped opportunities just waiting to be taken, that could potentially lead you to meeting people that could change your life forever. You never know, guys. Be open and be willing to take in new experiences. Be open and be willing to listen to differing perspectives. Because the world's in chaos right now. We don't need to add to it. We don't. And if we got that opportunity with the gifts that we've been given to help change the world little by little, it might not look like much now, but if you do it for years on end, you keep chipping away, we can mold this world into something that's beautiful that we can all share together. We are a beautiful melting pot here in America. We are. And every single person that's in this country, they have a right to be here, as long as they're willing to work hard. They're willing to show that they care for their fellow man, and that they're willing to do whatever it takes to make this nation greater than what it was before, because ultimately it's a complete mess right now, guys. It really is, and it breaks my heart on both ends. It really, really does. But I just want to say to everybody out there, thank you so much for listening to me tonight. I pray that you got something out of this. I just had this on my heart. I just needed to get it off my chest about like my story, just thinking about Easter and all that. And once again, I pray that you get something out of this. I'm hopefully within like the next few days, like the next week or two, I'll shoot another episode. It depends on when I can get time, because ultimately, my family is what matters the most. And like with the weekend, guess what? I spend the majority of my time with them. And I got the next couple of days off work, so I'm going to spend time with them. But one thing you can count on is this Monday night, me and John on the Retro Wrestling Revival, we're going to be doing Monday Night Raw, baby. And with our Monday Night War watch-along series, we might actually have a surprise or two coming up very, very soon for you guys to check out. So if you would, please check out the Retro Wrestling Revival on Facebook. Please check out the Retro Wrestling Revival on Twitter, which is at Retro W Revival FB, at Retro W Revival FB. And also check us out on YouTube at the Retro Repeat. I repeat, the Retro Repeat, ladies and gentlemen. And you can check me out on Facebook at Baptized Fire with Brother Martin podcast on Facebook. You can check me out, Baptized Fire with Brother Martin on YouTube. And you can personally check me out on Twitter at Baptized Fire 125, which if you want to comment positive, negative, what you liked, what you hated, let me know. I'm an open book. I'm an open dialogue machine, ladies and gentlemen. And I pray that you guys have a wonderful weekend. I really do. No matter who you are, no matter who you're with, whether you're working, you got the day off, the weekend off, it doesn't matter. I pray that there's nothing but happiness and positivity and peace within your heart that leads to lifelong experiences, memories made, and just ways to help others make their lives better. That's my goal here, guys. So I love you guys. I hope you have a safe, blessed, and joyous weekend. And peace out.